Can a lib music teacher win a congressional race in the heart of Kentucky? Well, let's find out. William Compton joins us. He's running in Kentucky's 2nd district, and he is, in fact, a music teacher and fairly to very progressive. So very curious how this is going to turn out. William, welcome.
Thank you, Cenk. It's good to be here.
All right, great. William, I think I read that you had worked at McDonald's at one point. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and now you're a music teacher teaching strings. It's, in some races you'll see identity emphasized, and you're part of the LGBTQ community, but you emphasize working class issues. I want to ask about the contours of this race and how winnable it is in a second, but tell me why you decided to emphasize working class issues as your theme.
Because these are the people that are in the 2nd district. These people have been neglected for many, many years. My family was in this group. My father was self-employed and my mother worked as a nurse in the district when I was growing up. So these people are the people of Kentucky, and they're the ones who need their voices heard. And so that's why I decided to make their issues a priority in my campaign.
Okay, that makes perfect sense to me. So now let's talk through the race here. First of all, are there any other Democrats in the primary?
There is another Democrat named Hank Linderman who ran in 2018 and in 2020.
And then on the Republican side, you have the incumbent. So how red is this district in Kentucky?
After our redistricting, it is about a 42% Democrat versus a 46% Republican kind of split of registered voters. Now, in the past, we've seen Democrats vote for the Republicans, and actually in 2020, the Democratic candidate ended up only getting 29.2% of the vote.
That's interesting. So that's the guy you're running against in the primary, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So was the split between Democrats and Republicans larger before the redistricting?
It honestly didn't change much for my district. We just added a little bit to the west and a little bit up north into Jefferson County. And so it didn't change a whole lot on the split.
Yeah, so it's not a big change in Kentucky, but the reason I asked is because the Republicans are redistricting all over the country. So Democrats are redistricting some blue states too. But in a red state like Kentucky, it'll create more Republican districts, although Kentucky's small. So like in Florida, it has created many more Republican districts, but at the expense of making those districts less Republican, right? And so it at least gives people like William a shot at winning. So that's an interesting turn of events. So now talk to me about how let's start with if you win the primary, how do you beat a Republican when the last Democrat only got 29% in that district?
Well, I'm already doing something the last Democrat hasn't done, and that's actually reaching the voters. I've already started going door to door in my community. I'm a representative in the city of Plum Springs, and I've started going door to door there and around Warren County. I'm mobilizing the youth at our local university, Western Kentucky University, and they have already started writing postcards for my campaign to get the word out. And like I said, I'm just doing what the previous candidate hasn't done, and that's actually reach voters. That's why the Republicans have won in this district. No one has let anyone know about their voting records, and no one has really put forth effort in recent elections. And that's my plan moving forward. I've started it now, and I'll continue it even after the primary.
Why? In your case, what did the Republican in your district do that was not helpful to the voters in that district?
Where do I begin? There's a huge list. I'll start with the most recent. When the House of Representatives voted on capping insulin, our Representative Brett Guthrie, he voted against it. The American Rescue Plan, he voted against the American Rescue Plan. And then when it gave funding to our public schools, he came to our public schools and talked about how amazing the funding was. He voted against the Domestic Violence Act of 2021 only weeks after a young lady in our district was murdered in a domestic violence case. And he voted against that. And again, there's a long list of votes that he has voted no on that could have really helped the people in this district.
Yeah, that makes sense. And by the way, the website's williamcompton.com. WilliamCompton.com. So William, what made you, like, you're now a Plum Springs City Commission member. So, and you're actually very young. And what made you get into politics, and how'd you win that seat?
I actually started getting into politics in 2016. During the primary of that election, I was in my final year of college, and Senator Sanders was a big motivator. I heard him speak. He visited Bowling Green, and he really sparked that flame in me to look into what our political leaders were doing. And then from there, I just started following the vote trails and kept being involved everywhere. And then when I moved out here in Plum Springs, I wanted to see what our local city was doing. And it was pretty much radio silent the entire time I tried to reach out to them. And so I decided, it was late into the cycle in 2020, to run as a write-in candidate. And I was fortunate to actually have enough votes to get on the city commission. And ever since then, I've been trying to fight to bring transparency into our city commission.
So William, I just find that story interesting. I'm always curious when an underdog wins. And so you're a massive underdog. You're just a working class guy, never been in politics, no name recognition, nothing, right? And you do a write-in campaign. That's infinitely harder. So what do you think you did there that helped you to win?
I talked to people in the city.
That's it. Okay.
It's just that simple. I talked to them, and everyone in the city, they feel like that they weren't being heard by our city commission. And so me going to them, me talking to them, and asking if they would write my name on the ballot was a big motivator for these people. And it's that simple, just going out and talking to them.
Okay, so you mentioned that Bernie Sanders inspired you to get into this politics and into this race eventually. So you're progressive in the heart of Kentucky. When you talk to voters now in this race, in the congressional race, what are the issues that resonate most with Kentucky voters? Where they go, hey, you know what? You got a good point there, William, on that one.
The one that resonates the most at the beginning of conversations is legalizing marijuana and sports betting in our state. If you haven't followed any of Kentucky's state legislator policies, there was a medical marijuana bill that was halted by one state senator, and it's widely supported across the district. And so I always start with something like that. You know, I'm fully in support of legalizing marijuana nationwide, recreational and medical use. And when I start with that, a lot of people open up their mind. It's almost like teaching. You have to get the foot in the door to get them to start listening. And then I moved to healthcare. Everybody has to have healthcare at some point. And I talked to them about the rising healthcare costs. And of course, again, everyone faces those healthcare costs. And I start talking to them about how I support Medicare for all and how it would save them money every single year versus what they're paying now. And those are the big motivators that are going throughout the district.
I'll tell you what, man, I don't know if people are already growing marijuana in Kentucky, but if it was legal, that would be a very natural industry for Kentucky that would create a lot of jobs, right?
Yes. And it's expected that if it was legal, Kentucky in the first year alone would get $1 billion in revenue.
Oh my God, you get high
revenue,
and you get cash. What else do you want?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, no, but seriously, William, you could make a little bit of history there if you run mainly on the marijuana legalization issue. That is intensely popular and dismissed by the Democratic establishment because they're approximately 98 years old on average. And they still think it's the 1980s and they're like, just say no. But as you're saying, that's the #1 issue that resonates with your voters. So have you considered doing a Gary Chambers-like ad? I don't know if you saw it where he's smoking the joint in the ad.
I have seen that, and he is very bold to do that. I still have to remember I am a school teacher, so I do still have to keep that mindset. But I will not hesitate to let people know that I was in college. I've done it before, and it should be legal. It shouldn't be an issue. And then on top of that, we should decriminalize anyone who went to jail for marijuana charges as well.
Okay. And I want to, we're almost out of time, so I want to come back to the second issue that you mentioned, which is healthcare. So when you talk to conservative voters, I'm curious what they say about healthcare, because we almost never hear what conservative voters want from healthcare. We always hear what they don't want. Oh, we don't want Obamacare, we don't want mandates, but what do they want?
They want, just like everybody else, they want it to be cheaper. And when I mention Medicare for all, at first they always kind of jump back and they're like, oh, that's the boogeyman. But then I start describing how it's going to save them money. Think about Representative Katie Porter when she talked about the administrative costs savings that switching to Medicare for all would save our nation. And then I get the question, well, what about our private insurance? And with my plan, you can have private insurance, but it would be an extension of the Medicare that you would already have in the government. So everyone gets the basic health care they need to survive. But if you want something extra for extra care, you can have that private insurance. You're more than willing to have that. And a lot of people are like, well, we haven't heard that option before. And it resonates a lot with the conservative voters.
Yeah, and that's because TV lied to them. Mainstream media lied to them,
Yep.
right-wing media lied to them. And so, by the way, Medicare is a private option. You could layer on private insurance. You should tell them, just go talk to your parents. When I talk to my dad, every time I talk to him about Medicare, he's like, I love it. He's like, I had this surgery and that surgery. I didn't have to pay anything. That's amazing, right? And your mom had these things and we didn't have to pay. Imagine if the whole country had it. Kentucky would love it. They have no idea how much they're being duped by not just conservatives, but also mainstream Democrats. So William Compton, a progressive in the heart of Kentucky, spitting truth out, and it's kind of working. So everybody check out WilliamCompton.com. And then he could be both straight out of Kentucky and straight out of Compton.
Yes.
Okay. All right, William, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.